Hello, welcome everybody. I'm talking about customer success. Now, let me give you a little bit of my background. I told you what I do before, but before I came here, I worked at a company where we did entitlement management implementations, and I acted as a consultant helping to do implementations at big systems, Ericsson, Avaya, EMC, HP, etc. Siemens, did I mention them? And then before that, I actually acted as an IT person. I was head of IT, responsible for implementing licensing for a software company. And another history lesson, I went back to my first jobs out of college. I actually did sales. So I was not good at sales because I was way, way too honest. So, today I'm going to talk to you about customer success programs, because customer success, I feel like I've seen it from all ends, as a customer and as all aspects of an organization who has to do with software is something I've been involved in. So first, let me ask, okay. It's not advancing. Okay. Well, there isn't a clicker. Right?
There you go.
What did you do?
Page down.
Page down? Okay, great. Thanks. So I'm going to talk a little bit about customer success programs, elements of customer success, and then I will talk about products a little bit, how you can leverage our products to help you in customer success. But first, who knows what a customer success program is? How many people here have a customer success program? So what is it all about? It's different. It's not what you're thinking of. It's not technical support. It's how do I make sure my customers are successful? So the reason we are moving to customer success and why customer success is so important is because we've moved from an on-premise scenario where you're doing all your software on-premise to cloud licensing and cloud applications, SaaS applications, where the interaction with the customer is different. It's ongoing. Success is bred by ongoing success, not initial success. We've also moved in the industry from perpetual licensing to licensing that's more subscription or usage-based. You're seeing this. We've talked about it all today. Usage-based licensing, subscription-based licensing. That means you have to keep your customer happy. They have to be successful, or they're not going to renew. So this is one of the reasons that many companies have developed what is essentially a new profession, customer success. If you go and you look up on LinkedIn and search for customer success, you'll see all these jobs for customer success professionals. Their job is to ensure that the customers are successful. Now, it doesn't apply to every application and every industry. But in those industries that are doing SaaS, where you're delivering SaaS applications, it's clearly important. If they don't use your application and they aren't happy and satisfied with your application, they're not going to renew. But we're also seeing it even on on-premise these days. Because even if you're selling on-premise software today, if you're selling it as a subscription, or if you're selling usage-based license models, the customer isn't happy, the customer isn't successful, you're not going to get that renewal, you're not going to get that on business. So what is customer success all about? Customer success programs are primarily about reducing churn. Why is that important? You've heard it a number of times today. You've heard the comments, you've probably seen this reference many times before. It costs a lot more to get a new customer than it does to retain an existing customer. You see Gartner and Bain referencing anywhere from 5 to 10 times as expensive to get a new customer than it is to retain an existing customer. I've seen references to, I think it's Bain that says that a 5% increase in customer retention can translate to a 75% increase in your profitability over time. So it's important to keep those existing customers, and your existing customer base, 20% of them are going to be responsible for 80% of your revenue. So you've got to be focused on this and keeping them happy and making them successful. There's also a revenue impact of this change that makes it important for you to retain your customers. So the bottom here, if you look at the gold bars, that's like we used to be in a perpetual world. We would sell the software, we would capture the revenue, we would recognize the revenue right up front for all of the software, and then we'd get our little maintenance pieces, 20% every year going on, right? So the big bang was in the first year. When you're moving to subscription and usage-based models, that revenue is flattened. It's going to be flattened over the period of the life of the use over time. In the end, you'll get more revenue out of it because they'll use it in perpetuity, hopefully, and each year, each period, they're going to be giving you more revenue. But if you lose that customer in year 2, if you're selling a perpetual license, okay, you lose the 20% ongoing. You lose your subscription customer in the second year, you're not capturing that revenue. Your initial revenue is gone, and your ongoing revenue is gone. So that's why it becomes more and more important to actually focus on making sure that the customers are satisfied and successful. A secondary objective of customer success programs is to increase revenue. So the sale's done, but you by building a relationship and understanding what the customer is doing and making them successful, you look for opportunities for upselling additional quantity, new features of your offerings that they can that your customers can leverage, and cross-selling. So if you know and you understand your customer's business, you can assess opportunities for other products in your portfolio that you sell that they might not be using yet. So from a customer success program standpoint, it's about succeeding, keeping those customers, preventing the churn, and seeking out and leveraging and exploiting other revenue opportunities. So what makes up a good customer success program? Onboarding. So how many of you, when a customer buys from you, send out an email saying, here's your order acknowledgement, go get your software here? Does anybody contact them? Is there any proactive communication with them? So the pardon me?
It depends on the product.
Of course.
Some are high touch, some are low touch.
Yep. And I think that's true. It doesn't apply to every situation. Sometimes you need to automate that. Sometimes you need to have the personal touch. But the onboarding, whether it's automated in some way or it's done by individuals, is so key. What is it that I was told? I think I was getting out of college and doing interviews, and I was told by our career development office that when you go into an interview, the decision is made in the first 30 seconds about whether they want to hire you, and the rest of the interview is spent trying to justify that decision. Well, the same thing is true with the experience with your customers. Your customers have a good experience at first. That's going to be good. It's going to motivate them to continue to do that work. If they have a bad experience first, it's not going to work. It's not going to work in the long run. They're going to spend the rest of their time fighting you and fighting the management, fighting whoever it is, and your adoption is going to be impacted. My daughter is actually an onboarding specialist right out of college. First thing she does at her company, it's a SaaS company, is her job is to, within 24 hours of an order, to make sure she contacts the customer, make sure that they were able to log into their SaaS application, ask them if they have anything, and schedule training for them. That's what she does. Customer experience. We just talked, those of you who were in the session before this talked about customer experience and usability. You've seen the portal demo outside. What we're trying to do is if you need to use a portal to activate, make sure it's the best experience that we can give you. Usability is obviously crucial in that. But there's an aspect of usability that has to do with the application, for sure. But there's another aspect of usability, was how easy are you as a vendor to work with. So I have a mechanic. I go to this mechanic all the time. The reason, he's probably more expensive than others, but I go there because I can drop my car off anytime I want. I can pick it up at midnight, and he'll send me the bill in the mail. I can call him anytime, and he'll say, just drop the car off, just come by. He's easy to work with. He works within my tight schedule. So I keep going to him. I renew my subscription with my mechanic every year, every time I have an issue with him. And that's what's important here. So having that experience and that touch is really important. And then relationship. Understanding the customer's business is also key. This is how you're going to identify new opportunities for new products, for feature upgrades, for advancements. Understand what they're trying to accomplish so that you can be proactive rather than reactive in identifying new opportunities and preventing problems. And obviously escalate when needed to prevent a small problem from turning into a big one. So those are kind of the three major aspects of customer success programs. And what I will point out is that typically customer success professionals are compensated based on two things, which is renewals and add-on revenue that they get out of customers. Oh, and by the way, this is not customer support. It's not help desk. That's not what this is. Although a good customer success representative is somebody who knows the product and understands the product and can speak the product, they're not necessarily technical support people. And I think I think technical support people are a good source because they're used to having that touch with the customer and empathy with the customer, but that's not the only requirement. Why? Because technical support is reactive. I get the call, I have a problem, I don't know how to do this, can you help me? And then you respond to it. Where customer success programs are really meant to be proactive. It's really meant to address them ahead of time, make sure that you're on top of them and you understand what their needs are and what their issues are ahead of time. So how can we help you? Entitlement management. You just heard, those of you who were just in the session with Jam, or those of you who went to the opening session, we talked about how we're advancing our back-end offering, our entitlement management system, to make sure that it's more comprehensive and offers all the features that you need to be more successful. One of those values that it brings to you is a 360-degree view of the customer. We talked in the last session about maintenance and having an entitlement management system not only contain information about what products you sell and what licenses you sell, but perhaps what services you sell, what your maintenance agreements are. It doesn't have to be licensable product. Anything you can entitle can be managed through an entitlement management system using EMS, and you can have a view of it. And, and that information is all contained within a single view or can be passed to your external systems like your CRM. You have visibility into not only buying, but activation. Why is that important? Your ERP will tell you what they purchased. Whether they activate it or not will tell you whether they're actually doing anything with it at one level. There's another element of that too, which I'll talk about in a minute, which is, are they actually using your software? But the first step in determining whether they use it is, did they activate it, or has it been deployed? And the entitlement management system is where that information is gathered and collected and reported. The entitlement management system can give you a view of what's underutilized or unutilized in your system. So you're not going to call a customer and say, hey, it's time to order another X quantity of B when you see that they have only used 5 of their 100. And you have the opportunity to see whether it's even been activated or not. If you sold them something and they've never even activated it, what's going on here, right? And another key component, and this is an optional thing, but many of our customers would use it, is the ability to identify the end users. Often you're not selling directly to the end users. In fact, most of the time you're not selling directly to the end users. You might be going through the channel, or you might be selling to IT or somebody like that. They're not the ones that are actually using your software. So through the activation process, you can capture who the end users are, either because they're the ones that are doing the activation and getting the license themselves, or because as I mentioned in the last session, we have the ability for that person to be identified by the person who's doing the activation, so you know exactly who it is. What do you use that information for? Well, you could use it for promotional items. You could use it for notifying people about upgrades being available, new features being available, et cetera. I wouldn't say, and often what that data is actually passed on to your CRM system so that you can do marketing and promotional programs for that.
Question.
Yes?
I understand what activation means, but I don't understand how you can see what's underutilized and what's the difference between that.
That's the next slide.
Oh.
The next slide. Good segue. So if you use cloud licensing, our cloud licensing capabilities, Sentinel Cloud Licensing with RMS and EMS, what we provide you with is the ability to actually monitor and assess usage. Actual, what are they using in your system? So feature usage. If you have features that you can use our Sentinel Cloud licensing to do two things: to control based on usage, but just to collect usage so that you know what they're doing. You might license, it might be an on-premise application that you're just licensing in a traditional way, but you want to see what features they're actually using. We use this today with EMS, as a matter of fact. We have certain features, and we say, how many people actually use the channel portal? How many people actually use the ESD portal? And we have a way to track that and to report that. So with Sentinel Cloud licensing, you can track actual usage, what features they're using, and get a view of that, and know what's being used most, what isn't being used most. Now, that's obviously very valuable to product managers to decide where they're going to invest. But as a salesperson, it's also important for your salespeople to understand that too. Gee, they're not using this particular module. What's going on here? Or they don't have this particular module. Do they need training? Do they need to be informed about it so that we can get them to use this particular feature? They paid for it.
Julie, a question about that. So is that a set of APIs that you guys have so the product engineering teams that are developing the product would say, hey, I implemented this feature, let's make sure that the API is plugged in to provide that?
Correct. We have a single API that you build into the product that does both track the usage of which features are being logged into and used, as well as to control based on a license that's delivered to you.
Seems this information could be very valuable to your customer.
Exactly. In fact, it's useful in new business models, enabling new business models. So if you wanted to bill based on usage, it's actually really beneficial to you too, because if you have this usage information, when it comes to renegotiation time, and you have evidence of usage, or frankly lack of usage, and this is a factor that can be used in the negotiation process, right? We have a lot of customers who don't actually control by usage, but they use the usage in the renegotiation time frame, right? And then trends. Are you seeing usage go up? Are you seeing usage go down? Is that an indication that something's happening in the customer site? Should you be more proactive in contacting them and finding out why particular features or a particular product are not being used? Gives you that opportunity. Episodic usage. If you over time see that there's certain times of the year that there's more usage versus less, is that an opportunity to offer a program to the customer that says, here you can purchase some temporary capacity during these periods of time, and you as a vendor can make sure you have the capacity to handle them if you're doing a service-based offering. So we see that in telecom scenarios a lot, where there's a convention that's taking place, and they just need more capacity for phone systems and activity than they might on a normal period of time. So it just offers you options to do different business models in that case. Any questions around that? So in summary, with the combination of cloud licensing and entitlement management, you really have the tools that you need to be more successful with your customers. And if you haven't started a customer success program at this point in time, and you're moving to specially SaaS licensing, but also, as I said, applies to on-premise licensing as well, depending on what kind of products and solutions you're providing, it's definitely the trend. And keep in mind that as you move to subscription-based licensing and usage-based licensing, the value of that customer to keep them happy and keep them successful is pretty critical. Any questions?
Julie, I'll just mention one other thing that we've noticed. It's just kind of almost for us, it's like a side effect of the cloud solution, but our customers love it. It's that we have like variability in the product that we introduce with like features. So we can turn on stuff in a customer, and the product just starts doing it within like 5 minutes.
Right.
And that's just the way the system works. It wasn't like we were thinking about that in the first place, like, oh, we're going to do this. But our customers love that fact that it just comes on and off. Like we can turn it on and off centrally. From a customer sat point of view, I think.
Customer experience and customer satisfaction.
Like that, yeah.
It's interesting you say that. I'm airing some dirty laundry here, but we have internally, as I said, we use Sentinel EMS and Sentinel Cloud to manage some of our systems, to manage EMS, as a matter of fact. And we have a part of our DP part of the business use use our entitlement management capabilities to license their product. And I got a call from Vicki, who's been here this week. And, oh, she's there. Remember, I got a call from her one day that said, something's not working. What's happened? And I was, within 90 seconds, I was able to go look and say, oh, your entitlement isn't correct, and correct it. And it immediately made the difference. So, and I think it was a Friday night or something. It's always a Friday night. So, so it's really from a usability and from a customer experience. It's a great capability to have. So, any other questions? Yeah.
A lot of the usability and the different data you talked about, you get in the previous session, you talked about the roadmap, maybe some closer interaction with electronic software delivery.
Right.
So I was kind of wondering if some of those things were added here, because I could see for me that would be important to know.
Right.
Which ones did they download, which ones didn't, you know.
Right.
those kind of things.
Right. So there's electronic service delivery. There's kind of a number of components to that. And one of the things that we're looking at from a roadmap perspective is being able to fully automate the updates of licenses and software updates at some point in the future. So the electronic service delivery is a key component of that. So the ability to identify and associate a new patch or the installer, frankly, to an entitlement, and make sure that you display that information to your customers and they know exactly what they need when they purchase. So they come into one portal, and again, you can do this through APIs within your application too, but they can come into one portal, get their license, download their software, download the patches. You know, in an ideal world, and what we'd be going to is a scenario where that's all automated, the entire part is automated, kind of the Microsoft software update that we all hate and love at the same time, right? But you'll have that as an option. And based on your entitlements. So do I have maintenance? Oh, I do get the upgrade. Do I not have maintenance? Oh, I don't get the upgrade. That's for your on-premise applications. Obviously, in the cloud, that's something that you manage in a different way.
That's good, but my follow-up question was kind of for the IoT thing, we're going to have a lot of devices that no one's going to be able to go touch, so being able to push updates down or
Yeah.
important things.
It's definitely something that we see as being a real value that we can provide by combining the software delivery, the license delivery, the API set, and having a management system that says you're entitled to and you're not entitled to. Right. That's also one of the reasons why we focus so much on performance, and, this vision of IoT, which we're talking about massive numbers of devices we might need to push to or pull from.
So I'm going to give you a freebie.
Okay.
You didn't mention the word compliance.
Compliance. This is true because this is a customer success program offering, but yes, compliance for sure. So I did mention that some customers don't even control their licensing, but they can use the usage information on renegotiations. But the same is true. You can also use that usage information and control your licensing and your access to features using licensing models that focus on that. So I sell you the right to print 100 times. On the 101st time, I say, sorry. Or on the 95th time, I say, or the 100th time, I say, hey, you've consumed your print transactions, but we'll give you 5 more, but you better reorder. Those kinds of things. All right.
Thinking about Sentinel Cloud and the tracking of usage and features, how would you compare this to maybe a metering and mediation solution, where you've got certain products and you have to meter what's actually being used, and things from Amdocs or Cloud Cruiser, the likes. How would you compare that to other solutions that have similar capabilities?
Right.
In some
Right.
way?
That's just a different licensing model that we can support. So you can have one of the values you get out of the cloud licensing and the connected licensing and the usage. The usage could be consumption. So it could be the number of terabytes I use. It could be anything, right? And you can define what that is. You just have to build into your application what you want tracked, and then you build into EMS how you want to control it, and then EMS will deliver the license that will either prevent or track or count that usage. And we see customers doing both pre and post sale. You think of the text messaging, the old text messaging, that doesn't happen anymore. We used to say you get 100 text messages and you pay $10 for 100 text messages a month, but at the end of then you get your bill and you've paid $5 for each extra text message that you had. And then those kind of models can be enabled with cloud licensing and usage-based licensing, right?
We actually do that, Julie. We go from, like when our customers trial in the cloud, we cap their usage. We use like a prepaid model and we cap it. And the salespeople were like, do we really want to do that? But they actually love now the fact that we cap it because our customers run out of usage and have to call us up and we say, like, buy something from us.
Right.
And then we switch the entitlement on the fly to a postpaid model where we just let them run unlimited. And that's another case where we do that dynamically. So we can transition our customers from an entitlement that's an eval to the same entitlement in like a production case from the back end, and the customer just transitions over and their usage gets uncapped. So, so that capping for trials has turned out to be really helpful for us.
And this is all using Sentinel Cloud and EMS?
We happen to be using Sentinel Cloud and the EMS that's in Sentinel Cloud. I'm not sure all of that is available in kind of like the other EMSs.
So we have different flavors of EMS and different configurations of EMS for our different solutions. Although what we're doing is kind of marrying those together. So Aspera uses the Sentinel Cloud form of EMS, which has more limited capabilities in some ways and additional capabilities in others. And the enterprise version of EMS has more entitlement management features, but there's a few differences in terms of the license models that can be supported. But by next year, they'll be identical. So you can use them either for on-premise licensing or for cloud licensing. Okay, so again, customer success programs, if you don't have them now and you're doing SaaS-based applications, you should think about them. If you have complex applications that you're moving towards subscription or usage-based models, keep in mind that is something that will help you in terms of achieving your revenue goals, maintaining those customers. It's a high-touch situation for some products, or you have to think about ways to automate that customer success if you're a low-touch environment. But it's so crucial to success overall for your products and your solutions. Okay. Anything else? Great. Thanks.